Everyone is speaking out about this. Is following what has been a very disappointing season for the Jays in the offensive department. Some rumors are starting to escalate surrounding a particular player that is on the Jays' radar. And not only on the Jays' radar, but following some comments from Ross Atkins, things have gotten very real. We're going to break that down and discuss who this is and what it means going forward. We also have multiple other updates ahead of tonight's late game against the Los Angeles Angels. So before we get into it, though, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and thank you guys for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. Now, obviously, the Jays were off yesterday. They start a series tonight against the Angels, and they need some help. And they have reinforcements coming in with Spencer Turnbull. We have some reinforcements coming in with José Berríos, and hopefully there's some hitting reinforcements coming in the form of one player in particular. Let's dive right into it. Now, obviously, the Jays are in an interesting spot, and we've been talking a lot on this channel about players that they need and all these different things. There's been some articles that have dropped. There's been some rumors floating around, particularly surrounding JD Martinez, especially after the Buffalo boys, all these guys have started to really, fall off as it pertains to the offensive department. You can see this here from Use of the Six. JD Martinez slashed 300, 371, 584, 296 with 145 plate appearances with runners in scoring position last season. Overall, he hit very well runners on base. You're telling me the Jays wouldn't be better team with Santander and Springer playing the corner outfield spots with JD Martinez at DH. And this is a conversation that we've been having on this channel for a while. And it has to be brought up again simply because of how bad the Jays have been, just hitting in general, especially against left-handed pitchers, but B, with runners in scoring position, because JD Martinez, he hits very well with runners in scoring position and with men on base. You can see this there. And looking at his peripherals, even from just last year, very, very good. Yes, he has some weaknesses, as every free agent will. He strikes out a lot, he whiffs a lot, but when he makes contact, he hits the ball extremely hard, and he would be a primary DH, and that's been one of the reasons maybe the Jays were hesitant on, acquiring him in free agency. You still have the chance to get him, and he would immensely help this team. He would lengthen the lineup even more. We've seen an increase in production in this lineup since Dalton Varsho has come back. If you get one more guy that can help, just mash versus lefties, but I'd put him in against righties as well at this point. You're not getting much from Alan Rodin. Will Wagner was sent down. Miles Straw and Nathan Lucas has played very well as of late as well, which will also maybe help, spread it out a little bit so JD Martinez wouldn't have to play a lot. But it is just a perfect fit and something that this team desperately needs. And if there's any time to get a guy like JD Martinez, now would be the time. When you think back to a few days ago when Ross Atkins came out, he said that Ross Atkins says the Jays are looking at some potential free agent depth options that could impact the big league roster. Now, following Ross coming out and saying this, there was speculation about JD Martinez. There was speculation about pitching. They ultimately went out and signed Spencer Turnbull and José Berríos, one of which we'll dive into later is going to be starting tonight. But most importantly, I'm hoping that this means they're not done yet. Other free agent depth options, I'm hoping JD Martinez is still on the radar. And there was rumblings about him last season. There's rumblings about him every time he was a free agent, as a trade target at deadlines, all these different things. He is a fantastic hitter. He's 38 years old. He won't be playing every single day, and he definitely won't be playing the corner outfield spots. But if you have Santander in left, Springer in right, Varsho in center, with JD Martinez as your DH, I think that's a fantastic, lineup and a fantastic outfield / DH, especially because one of the concerns with this would have been, why don't you give Alan Rodin the at-bats? Why don't you give, Nathan Lucas the at-bats? It would take away some at-bats from Nathan Lucas, but at the same time, I think they need to add some more upside into their lineup, and that's what JD Martinez is. He hits a ton of home runs. He hits a very, he hits for very good average, good OPS plus with runners in scoring position with men on base, and that is what the Jays are absolutely lacking right now. And if they're willing to go out and make big moves and big splashes to acquire guys you don't see it very often that a month or 2 months into the season you're acquiring starting pitchers off the free agent market. May as well go in and do it on the hitting side as well. And you see an article that dropped here. Martinez remains one of the top bats available. While he's now limited to DH, he's still a capable offensive threat. Even if his peak years are behind him, Martinez can offer valuable right-handed pop to a lineup that struggled to produce runs consistently. But also, of course, the Jays do need their stars to step up. While outside additions may help, they need better from Vladdy and Bo. That's ultimately the case here. In order for the Jays to win games, they're going to need better production from Bo, better production from Vladdy, better production from Santander, everybody. But that can also be true at the same time of saying, hey, the Jays need to go out and get one more guy. They need to get another hitter, whether that's via trade, whether that's via free agency. It needs to happen, and I'm hoping JD Martinez is going to be one of those guys. And Santander has been struggling. You can see here, regardless of what the team brings in, the Jays won't turn ththings around until their stars produce. The AL East shaping up to be highly competitive once again. Toronto's margin for error is thin. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And again, this article is I don't know exactly when it released. It must have been a few days ago or a few weeks ago, whenever it was. The AL East is wide open. You have the Yankees who traded for Devin Williams, one of the best closers in baseball, who is, washed now with the 10 ERA, choked again in yesterday's game. The Yankees are losing, albeit they're still very good in the top of the AL East. The Red Sox are 500. The Orioles are struggling. The Rays are struggling. The Jays are struggling. Like, this is the year where if the Jays were even league average at hitting, they would be first in the AL East, and that's the unfortunate part. But the reality is there's so much time to turn around because the AL East isn't as good as previous years. And you can see this here. He had a 725 OPS last year, and his worst year in a very long time. Before that, he had a fantastic year with the Dodgers, a great year with the Red Sox the year before, a few great years with the Red Sox. It was a three-time or a back-to-back-to-back All-Star, even dating before last year. Now, there's a reason he hasn't been signed yet. Whether that's because no team is willing to offer him the $10 million he wanted, he's not going to get that now, or whether it's something else. It's going to be interesting. And let me know down below, would you want to sign him to a deal? Because again, it would take away some at-bats from Nathan Lucas. It would maybe even take away some at-bats from Addison Barger. But at the same time, Barger can play some third base. You split that between Ernie Clement and Barger. You have Alan Rodin off the bench. I mean, JD Martinez would be an easy swap for Alan Rodin. So it makes all the sense in the world to me. And I'm really hoping that they seriously consider this because rumors are starting to pick up towards it, and I think it will make a ton of sense, especially after the comments from Ross Atkins. Let's dive into a couple other things here. I want to start with Spencer Turnbull. Of course, he's officially signed with the Jays, and John Heyman came out and revealed some interesting details surrounding his contract. So his base salary is $1.265 million, and he gets a bonus for innings pitched, which I think is good. And this kind of goes to show that I assume they're going to be using him almost, exclusively as a starter. So he gets an extra $100,000 for every 50 inning, 60 inning, 70 inning, 80 inning, and 90 inning threshold that he hits, and then for being on the active roster. So he is going to get some sort of, increase in salary. But most importantly, Jose Urena starting tonight, which makes some sense. He had a 3.9 ERA last year. Just keep in mind, I believe it was for the Mets. But correct me if I'm wrong down below. I believe it was for the Mets. You have Spencer Turnbull, who now with the Florida Complex League is trying to ramp up to be a starter. He's going to be the fifth starter on this team. Who knows how many starters they're going to need? We know Max Scherzer can't return until late May after being placed in a 60-day IL yesterday. Same with Eric Swanson, late May for the 60-day IL. So they're going to need probably guys like Jose Urena to even be in the bullpen after Spencer Turnbull returns here. It is the starter. I think they have a ton of faith in him, and it's going to be interesting to ultimately see what direction they go with Spencer Turnbull and how they do it, because tonight, you unfortunately have Jose Urena starting, and that's not, nothing against him. It's going to be interesting to see how he does, but it's going to be very, very important there. One other thing before I wrap up, just a fun fact here. George Springer is ranked as the seventh best outfielder, right fielder in 2025 thus far, and it kind of goes to show George Springer is ranked above Juan Soto, which is obviously this is based on a per-week basis, and it might be a per-month basis, but regardless, George Springer's had a fantastic year, and if this team can just start to spring together some other hits with runners in scoring position, hopefully they can bring in a bat to do that. They'll be very, very good towards their way of winning the AL East, because the AL East is nowhere near as good as it once was. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. Things are getting interesting. Things are starting to pick up. And George Springer in 2025, which is ridiculous, is in the top 10 right fielder spot. But let me know down below if you want to see JD Martinez and the Jays. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.